Leadership is the capacity to feel and care. It is what makes you a leader. You know, we all sometimes are leaders, but we don't use our leadership ability. And a lot of people think of leadership as an inborn capacity. And I think there are some people that have an inborn sense of certainty. They seem to have this feeling that they're willing to be a little bit fearless. They're not really fearless, they're scared, but they do it anyway. No one is fearless. You'd be fearless, you'd be dead. But there's certain people, there's just something that's driving them. There's something they're after that they value more than their fear. And most of them, in my experience, condition themselves to have that kind of certainty that allows them to lead. The word hero comes in Latin first from the word servo, and servo comes from the word servant. Who is the hero in the oldest story? The person who goes out and fights the battles, protects the city, slays the dragon. They sacrifice their lives. Most of them went out and figured out how to literally be willing to give up everything in order to serve. That's the way you become a hero, is to serve. And so I know there are many kinds of leadership, but mine is the servant leadership, and there's a great power in servant leadership. And I'm not here to tell you what to believe spiritually, and I never would. I believe whatever you believe, you better practice it. But I do believe one thing. There is a force greater than your intellect. There's a force greater than your mind. I really believe that the state of you as a leader is going to be the single most important thing that's going to affect your ability to lead, your personal state. That's where leadership starts. Because ultimately as a leader, what is your job? What do leaders do? They influence. But you can't control people, you can only influence them. Any totalitarian regime has learned you can't control people forever. You can try and control them in 3 forms of motivation. One is fear. And fear will work. People will do things to avoid fear for a long time. But there's a point in which people finally go, screw it, I don't give a damn, I don't care, I'm going to do it anyway. The second motivation is incentives. You can try and incentivize people to do it. If you do this, I'll give you that reward. And most leaders try to use incentives, especially business leaders. But there's a problem, and the problem is if I have to do this to reward you every time, is that leadership or is that bribery? And the problem with bribery is it has its limits. The ultimate reward, the ultimate thing that leads people, those spiritual needs. All the needs are important, but you know the 6 needs, right? What's number 1? Certainty. And by the way, isn't that what a leader brings to the table? Certainty? Everybody else is freaking, oh, what do we do? And somebody goes, move, I'll handle it. They don't try to get everybody else to do it, hide back and be afraid. What if I fail? They just step up. If I fail, what do I do? Use it, find a way, change, make it happen. When people are uncertain, they do weird. So part of the job of a leader is not to fake certainty, but to tell the truth about things. That'll get people certain quicker because they'll feel it in their body, in their soul, in your eyes. They'll feel it at every level of their soul. That's what can start to shift anybody. I believe motive does matter. If I'm doing this because I really want to serve you, now it's not just serving me, it's serving 2 pieces of life, you and me. There's going to be a different opening. There's going to be a different level of insight, intellect, intelligence, courage, power, passion that's going to show up when it isn't just me and my buddy, but it's us. And I want to get you into owning your soul. But the bottom line is, if I care more than anybody else, if I will not give up, if I'm really here to serve that person, if I stop thinking about me, how am I looking, how am I doing? If I take all that and throw it out, and I just focus on how to help this human being, power will come to me because I'm serving something more than myself. And my ultimate goal is, if I can influence all these people, they're going to go home and influence. And then the game never stops. And so my passionate desire in serving you, and the reason I came by is, I want to make sure that some part of you, we all have uncertainty. I do too. But I have a lot less of it. If you lift a weight once, you might have your muscles stay. But if you keep lifting and you keep lifting more, that muscle's going to grow. It's not you're so strong, it's that you work out. Everybody says they want to grow, but nobody wants to change. Everybody says they want to grow. I want my life to be better. I want this. I want that. I want a better relationship. I want to have a better relationship with my kids, a better relationship with God. I want a better body. I want better. I want more. I want the growth. I just don't want to do what's necessary to make that growth happen, called change. And why not? Because change brings with it uncertainty. What if I fail? What if it ends? What if I try all this stuff and it doesn't work and I call the guy and he doesn't have another plan to fake Tony out? Most of us, when we're figuring out what it takes to lead, what we want to make better, we notice the visible when the invisible forces are the ones that are controlling everything. And if you're a leader, your job is to influence the invisible forces. Any idiot can leverage somebody, motivate somebody by fear or incentive and get them to do in the moment. That's behavior in the moment, but it won't last a month from now because there's no growth. You just got someone to do something right now. That's a manager, not a leader. Managers get people to do shit. Leaders get people to do shit when you're not there, at a higher level than before you interacted with them. Leaders help people to create a higher level state, a higher level blueprint. Managers manage the state for the moment. Giant difference. I didn't come here to have you become managers. If you're going to be an agent of a lasting change, I mean, I'm not just talking about change. Change happens all the time. You have to do nothing to be an agent of change, just be around and claim credit for it. Because how often is the world changing? How often are people changing? How often? All the time. In fact, most of us try to pretend people aren't changing because we don't like that much change. The most powerful forces in everyone's life are invisible forces. Forces like gravity, forces like radiation, forces like love or hate. Those forces are shaping the entire world, the entire universe. And of them all, the ultimate force is that human emotion. And that human emotion is also coming from invisible forces like beliefs and values and rules and needs. And the way you're bringing the stories you've made up about people, the story about where you're supposed to be in your life right now. How many of you have an expectation about how you're supposed to be financially or physically or in your relationships or in your family or in your career that has changed at different stages of your life? Like it was okay to do certain things at 20, but 30 was like, what the hell? How many recently had your blueprint, your expectation, your invisible forces messed with because the world has changed different than you anticipated and it's created some discomfort for you? Guess what? More is coming. So here's my first question. If 80% of success is psychology and 20% is mechanics, now don't get me wrong, if you don't know the right mechanics, if you don't know how to do something, the old metaphor, if you're running east looking for a sunset, I don't care you have a positive psychology, you're screwed. You got the wrong system. So think about it this way. First, there is you. To lead, you have to lead yourself, and at its core, it's going to start with your state, but the roots is where it all starts. So we're going to kind of dig into the roots a little bit and show you how to dig in those roots, right? Second of all, besides that state, there's a psychology. There is a blueprint. There's a mindset inside of you. There's a set of beliefs inside of you, and those beliefs are going to be most important. If you and I are going to lead, and I want you to write the answers to two questions. Why must you master the skills of leadership? Why must you become an agent of change? Why must you become an extraordinary influencer? Why is it a must for you and not a should? If you do it, what can you do? What can you get? What can you create? So why? What do you miss out on if you don't master this? And the second question is, what would need to be changed or enhanced inside of you for you to be a more effective leader?